The soft, rhythmic click of my turn signal was the only sound in the car. Beside me, in the passenger seat, my father, David, sat in a silence that felt heavier than usual. It was a bright Saturday morning, the kind meant for yard work or lazy breakfasts, but we were on a mission. The destination, the local home improvement superstore. The objective, a new bathroom faucet and some paint samples. The underlying tension, as it always was on these trips, was a thick, invisible fog between us. My dad had always been a man of few words, a man whose love was expressed not through hugs or praise, but through a perfectly maintained lawn and a workshop where every tool had its designated spot on a pegboard outline. He was a retired engineer, a solver of concrete problems. I, his only son, Leo, was a problem he had never quite been able to solve. I worked as a graphic designer, a career he politely referred to as that computer art thing. My world of fonts, color theory, and subjective aesthetics was a foreign language to him. Our conversations were a series of friendly, yet distant exchanges about the weather, the car's oil change schedule, and Mom's garden. I think the brushed nickel will look better than the chrome, I said, breaking the silence as I navigated the parking lot. It'll contrast nicely with the dark wood vanity. He replied, his gaze fixed ahead. Just make sure the washers are good. A cheap washer will have you replacing the whole thing in a year. That was my dad. Where I saw aesthetics, he saw potential mechanical failure. The store was a cathedral of consumerism, a vast echoing space filled with the smell of lumber and fresh paint. We found the plumbing aisle, a long canyon of shiny fixtures. As I compared two nearly identical faucets, my father ran a callous thumb over the connection points, his engineer's mind already assembling and assessing. That's when my phone buzzed. A text from my partner, Maya. It was a simple message, a question about what time we should meet for dinner later. But seeing her name on the screen, a sudden, powerful wave of emotion washed over me. We had been talking about big things lately, moving in together, the future. The future. The word echoed in my mind, and with it came a fear I had carried since I was a teenager. I must have made a sound, a soft choked sigh, because my dad looked up from his inspection of a PVC pipe. Everything all right, son? He asked, his tone neutral, and then something broke. Maybe it was the sterile fluorescent lighting, or the sheer normality of the moment, standing between a display of toilet seats and a stack of water heaters. The carefully constructed wall I had built for years, the one that presented a version of myself that was always fine, just crumbled tears, hot and sudden, welled in my eyes. I tried to blink them back, to turn away, but it was too late. A sob escaped my throat, raw and embarrassing. My father's face, usually a mask of calm composure, shifted into an expression of pure, unadulterated shock. Leo, what is it? What's wrong? I leaned against the metal shelf, the coolness of faint comfort against my suddenly hot skin. I couldn't speak. The weight of a secret I'd carried for over a decade felt like a physical burden on my shoulders. He didn't pat my back or try to hug me. That wasn't his way. Instead, he stepped closer, his voice dropping, losing its usual gruffness. Son, talk to me. Is it your job? Are you in some kind of trouble? I shook my head, wiping my eyes with the back of my hand, feeling like a little boy again. No, Dad. It's nothing like that. It's not nothing, he stated, a simple, undeniable fact. Look at you. He guided me away from the main thoroughfare to a quieter corner of the aisle near the boxes of sink strainers. The anonymity of the massive store felt like a bizarre blessing. We were surrounded by people, yet completely alone. It's Maya, isn't it? He guessed, his brow furrowed in concern. Did you two have a fight? No, she's perfect, I said, my voice thick. That's the problem. He was silent, just waiting. And in that patient, unwavering silence, I found a courage I didn't know I possessed. Do you remember when I was 17? I began, the words feeling strange and dangerous on my tongue. And I had that really bad case of appendicitis. I was in the hospital for 4 days. He nodded slowly. Of course, I remember. Your mother was a wreck. We thought, well, it was a scary time. I remember it too, I whispered. But what I remember most wasn't the pain. It was the night after the surgery. I was on a lot of pain medication, drifting in and out of sleep. You were there in the chair next to my bed. You thought I was asleep? I saw the memory flash in my own mind as clearly as if it were yesterday. The dim, greenish light from the monitors, the beeping of the phi pump, the smell of antiseptic. My dad, his head in his hands, his shoulders slumped. I looked at him now. His blue eyes, so much like my own, fixed on me, wide with a dawning confusion. You were talking to Mom on the phone, I continued, my voice trembling. And you said, I just pray he grows up strong, finds a nice girl, has a family. A normal life. That's all I want for him. I took a shaky breath. A normal life. You have no idea how those words have haunted me. Because I knew, even then, Dad, I knew I was gay. The word hung in the air between us, stark and simple. I had never said it to him before. My mother knew. We'd had a tearful, wonderful conversation years ago. But my father, I was always too afraid. I was afraid of changing his view of me, of disappointing him, of no longer being the son he thought he had. I had built my entire adult life around the fear of that single moment. His face went pale. He stared at me, and I saw a rapid series of emotions flicker in his eyes. Confusion, processing, and then a deep, profound sorrow. Leo, He started, but his voice cracked. He looked down at his worn work boots, then back at me. All these years? You've been carrying this all these years because of something I said when you were in the hospital? I just nodded, fresh tears spilling over. Oh, son, he breathed out, and the sound was so full of pain it made my heart ache. He reached out, his hand hesitating for a second before he placed it firmly on my shoulder. It was the most meaningful touch we had shared in a decade. Leo, you have to understand. That night, I was so scared. I was watching my boy, my only child, lying in a hospital bed, hooked up to machines, and I felt so helpless. All I could do was cling to the most basic, generic hope a father can have for his son. It was a script. It was what I thought I was supposed to say. It never ever occurred to me that I was putting a chain around your heart. He swallowed hard, and I saw, to my utter astonishment, that his own eyes were glistening. My dad, who never cried, not at weddings, not even at his own father's funeral. You think I care about normal? He said, his voice low and intense. Leo, look at what I do. I spend my days measuring things, solving for X, making sure things are level and plumb. Your world, the things you create, it's beautiful. It's magic to me. The fact that you're my son has always been the greatest, most fascinating mystery of my life. He saw me differently that day. It wasn't a gradual shift. It was instantaneous. It was in the way his eyes searched my face, not looking for the son he thought he had, but finally truly seeing the son he actually had. The guard was down. The manual he'd been following had been thrown out. And Maya, he continued, his voice firming up. She makes you happy? So happy, Dad, I said, a real smile breaking through my tears for the first time. She's the best thing that's ever happened to me. Then she's family, he said, as if it were the most obvious equation in the world. You bring her around for Sunday dinner. Your mother will be thrilled, and I want to get to know her properly. We stood there for a long moment in the plumbing aisle of a home improvement store, surrounded by the parts and pieces used to build and repair homes. And we had just begun to repair our own. We never did get the faucet that day. We walked out of the store, my father's arms still around my shoulders, and went to a small diner we used to go to when I was a kid. We sat in a vinyl booth and we talked. We talked about Maya, about my work, about his retirement. But mostly we just talked. It wasn't about the weather or the car. It was about life. My life. My real life. When I dropped him off at home, he stood on the porch and watched me get back into my car. As I started the engine, my phone buzzed. It was a text from my dad. It was just 3 words, something he had never, ever said to me in a text, or often in person. I love you, Leo. And below it, a second message followed. All of you. I looked up at the house. He was still standing there, silhouetted in the doorway. He raised his hand, not a wave, but just a quiet, open palm gesture of acknowledgement. I raised mine in return. He saw me differently that day. He saw the real me, the man I had always been, the son who was finally completely seen and loved for exactly who he was. And in seeing me, he freed us both. The drive home felt lighter, the world outside my windshield brighter. The heavy fog had lifted, and for the first time, I felt like I was finally truly heading home.